Hey, good Tuesday evening, everyone. State Representative Brad Halbrook here with my colleagues, hopefully live and hopefully in demand as this thing moves forward. And with that, gentlemen, welcome to tonight's roundtable and town hall as we discuss a couple of kind of interesting bills here tonight and talk about kind of some other things that are kind of going on around the state of Illinois. Hey, guys, I'm joined here with Leader Chairman Representative Chris Miller of the Illinois Freedom Caucus, Treasurer of the Illinois Freedom Caucus, Dan Calkins from Decatur, and from Southwestern Illinois, Representative David Freese, and our State Director, Colin Mosley. Welcome, gentlemen.
Good to be here.
Good evening.
Wave to the crowd. Hey, guys, let's do this. Let's just get right into these bills, and then maybe we'll just have a few closing comments as we wrap up this evening to be sensitive of everybody's time. And with that, let's bring up our slides. And, of course, tonight we're going to talk about climate change, education, and the illegal immigrant social workers. Wow. What comes to mind is what could possibly go wrong with any of that. But anyhow. All right. So the first bill here is HB 4895, Climate Change Education in Schools. Guys, I'll just set this up. This bill went out of committee, party lines, House floor, basically party lines, the Senate vote, basically party lines. Now sits at the governor's desk for a signature to be enacted. Gentlemen, I'll throw it out. Looks like this does not begin for at least one more calendar year or school year till 2026. Your thoughts?
Well, this is putting the propaganda, I guess, and indoctrination of our kids formally into the course of instruction. It is called the course of study article of it changes the course of study article of the school code, which is House Bill 4895. And you're correct, Brad, it doesn't go into effect until school year 26-27. However, the curriculum needs to be developed in school year 2025. So starting next year, the State Board of Education is going to be working on developing a curriculum that every public school has to provide. This demands, again, every public school has to provide a course of instruction on climate change. And I hate to say that because I know Chairman Miller will have a heart attack when we talk about climate change. What the bill does, and I took a couple of notes here from our time on the floor. The course of instruction has to talk about the environmental and ecological impacts on individuals and communities. They have to talk about evaluating solutions for addressing and mitigating the impact. And there's a whole lot of stuff in there. Part of the course of instruction is about the conservation of natural resources, air pollution, water pollution, waste reduction, recycling, and the effect of excessive use of pesticides. So that's what this course of instruction is. But if you dig down at the bottom of the bill, there's a little part of it that's called Green Cleaning School Act. So that's also in there, and it talks about having to they're now going to start dictating what can be used to clean our schools, their restrooms, locker rooms, showers, classrooms. So we're now hidden in the bottom of that bill is the Green Cleaning School Act. So we'll see what that unfunded mandate requires.
Yeah, the sad thing is, guys, is that this has already taken place. It has been for years. There's a reason why we got a bunch of mind-numb robots coming out of our education system. You know, yeah, they believe in climate change, but they can't tell you what any report says because they don't have the background, the knowledge there to read at grade level, to read any report or any book. They're just being preached to. It's really sad commentary for our public school system right now.
Absolutely. If you want to zoom in on this, Brother Halbrook, Representative Halbrook, you can. Is there any way you can switch that? Oh, yeah. It says they're lying to you. That's the bottom line, is that this is not evidence-based education, because in sound science, your observation dictates your conclusion and not the other way around. And for all you senior citizens that have tuned in, if you will put on your critically thinking cap, you will remember that for the span of your lifetime, the media has trotted out some kind of climate crisis where if we don't do something immediately in the next, 7 to 15 years, typically, we're all going to die. When I was a kid, we were going to freeze to death. We had acid rain kind of mingled in there. We had the ozone depletion. We had the idea that the earth was going to turn into a frying pan, and we were going to lose 25% of Florida and California, and a large portion of land mass on all the coasts, because of the polar ice caps were going to melt. And none of that stuff ever proved to be true. And so there's one thing that the climate cult religion came up with the idea of climate change, because we all know that we have winter, spring, summer, and fall. And so particularly in Illinois, our climate is always changing. And, the old farmer cliche and kind of tongue-in-cheek statement was always, well, if you don't like the weather here in Illinois, just wait 15 minutes and it'll change. And, it's always going to be hot in the summer. It's always going to be cold in the winter. Death Valley typically has some of the hottest temperatures on the globe. And so none of this stuff is a great revelation, other than the fact that they hyper report anytime. If you turn on the weather, especially here in July, the first thing that they will talk about is the temperatures in Death Valley. And and you just watch, or in the Southwest, because it's always hot in Arizona and Nevada in the summertime. And Southern California, they spike the temperatures there, but nothing is changing. Carbon dioxide will never destroy the environment, but the hot air that comes out of DC and the Capitol Dome, and as well as the Springfield Capitol Dome, the hot air that produced there is the most dangerous, carbon dioxide that will negatively impact humanity. But all this is based on a lie.
Yeah. And I think in Illinois, as look at the slide, the most egregious thing is that our kids can't even read and write.
Right.
I mean, we have failing schools that we continue to add mandate after mandate on. And so, rather than try to improve literacy or improve math skills, or, give these kids a chance, we're just going to add another classroom mandate and spend more time talking about carbon dioxide killing the population. It's just ridiculous. And we wonder why we got to spend, millions of dollars more than any other state around us and have worse results.
Right.
Yeah. How about a safe school where the kids can actually study safely? Wouldn't that be nice?
Yeah.
Right.
Well, I know that even the Apostle Paul saw this coming, because he writes about it in 2 Thessalonians chapter 2. It says that God will send them strong delusion who believe the lie, who receive not the love of the truth. And it's because the climate cult people have received not the love of the truth. They're denying that in the beginning God created the heavens and the earth. And so because of this systematic rejection of the truth that we find in the scriptures, God will give them over to a reprobate mind. It talks about that in Romans 1, and it talks about it here in 2 Thessalonians 2. So it's not a big shocker to believers about what's going on here.
Right.
I saw a funny image yesterday that said if Paul wrote a letter today, he would say, "Dear church, I hope this letter finds you before I do."
That's great. Chris, do you think all of the things that we're doing to try to mitigate climate change is actually affecting the climate? I mean, we're taking CO2 out. We're taking all the chemicals out. We're getting ready to change the aviation fuel to supposedly stop some of the pollution from all these airplanes. I mean, could all of these things that we're doing be having a negative effect on the climate? Anybody talk about that?
I think that's an excellent question that you bring up there, and an observation, because in the fact sheet that was produced by the Obama administration, and you would have to think that the Environmental Protection Agency during the Obama years would be just as bad as the Environmental Protection Agency that exists now. And they suggested that if they did all of the proposed regulations to reduce carbon emissions, throughout the spectrum, that it would by the year 2100, the net effect would be a lowering of the temperature by 0.02 degrees. And that's if they did everything that they wanted to do. And so basically, it doesn't amount to Jack, his last name.
And I think one of the things that always gets overlooked in this conversation is what are we doing to the environment to produce these EVs? I mean, if anybody's ever looked into that, we got to mine all this nickel and cobalt, all that stuff. I mean, and that's not being done here locally. That's being done in other countries where they are not concerned about the environment.
Right.
That's correct. That's correct. Yeah. So for some reason, it's less dangerous to the environment to mine these rare earth elements out of all these foreign lands than it is to mine and drill for coal and natural gas and oil in this country. Evidently, that's better for the environment to do that. But, I think it's woefully inept, and it's not very good thinking on that. Hey, gentlemen, let's close this out. I just want to make one additional comment. They've also, this legislation provides for a working group made up of students, educators, and experts in the area of climate change. Many agency directors or their designee. They've got at least 4 or 5 main tasks here. But this is what's interesting is the first issue, the premise they start with is the basic foundation and definition of human-caused climate change. So that's the premise they start from. So that's kind of interesting. Hey, gentlemen, let's move on to the next slide.
I want to nominate Representative Miller to be on that working group.
What a great idea. All right. So the next bill we want to talk about is HB 5457, which will provide social work licenses for illegal aliens. Gentlemen, similar situation here. Went out of committee party lines through the Senate and House chambers on party lines, waiting on the governor to sign this. Just basically says the department shall make reasonable accommodations for applicants whom English is not their primary language and a test in their language is not available. So this makes so you don't have to speak English to be able to do social work. What's your thoughts, gentlemen? I'll throw it up.
Well, this is again another one of these accommodations that English is not our first language, and I guess we can sympathize somewhat that we need bilingual speakers to do clinical social work. But there's another part of this bill that doesn't get talked about very much. And it says that the agency cannot deny a license because of immigration status. So you don't have to be a citizen. And then it says the agency can't revoke or discipline a license holder based on an immigration violation. So we are now opening up another line of work for illegal immigrants at the expense of trying to do what we hear from the Democrats and their caucus, particularly the Black Caucus, on every bill. What's this do for my community? How is this going to help my people? Well, ladies and gentlemen, in the Democratic Black Caucus, you all just voted for a bill that is going to make it more difficult for you to promote, educate, promote, and employ the members of your community because of J.B. Pritzker's sanctuary state. Let's do everything for immigrants. and leave the rest of us behind. Hope that wasn't too
Yeah, I'm
harsh.
always fascinated by how the Democrats posture themselves when it comes to illegals. I mean, having been in the service, I've been to numerous countries, and in no time did I ever think that the laws of that country where I'm at don't apply to me. But for whatever reason, people who are in this country illegally, our laws don't apply to them. You know, for starters, actually, they came into the country illegally.
Mhm.
It just baffles me.
Right. Yeah, and I think this last statement here is: do we really want illegal aliens performing social work on our kids and families? Director, I don't know if you had a comment there about that or something else, or Leader Miller.
Go
I
ahead,
think
Chris.
it's an absolute correct observation, and I would guess that most people that love their families don't want illegals having any kind of impact on them, mainly because they don't even speak the same language. And by the way, as a sidebar, I am bilingual, if you guys didn't know that. I speak Southern Illinois and I speak East Central Illinois. And so
There is a difference in syllables there.
language.
Right. Well, the problem with, as to your point about the social work thing, I mean, we have, it's an all out attack because, okay, our kids can't read and write. Now they're going to learn about climate change, and then they're going to have all this gender, you know, the DEI and the culturally responsive teaching and leading standards. And then, oh, by the way, we're going to mandate mental health screenings. And then we're going to bring in social workers who are illegals.
Right.
I mean, that list alone is enough to pull your kids out of public school in Illinois.
Makes perfect sense. Yeah.
It's an all-out attack. And, you know, I guess I'll put on my tinfoil hat because I'm sure all the people that are for this stuff think that we're just fear-mongering. But that things I just listed are real public policy in the state of Illinois. This is not a joke. So if you're sitting here hearing this and your kids are in public school, just so you know, these are things that they're going to be exposed to in the next year to two.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly right.
There's a reason why we call that the bad idea factory.
Right.
Yeah, what
their name?
What could possibly go wrong? Gentlemen, let's move on to the next slide. We had a great town hall last Tuesday night in Decatur. Dan, I know you were with a group in Chicago Friday night. Tell us kind of what happened there. What was going on?
Well, Friday night, the Chicago Black Republican group invited Freedom Caucus to come up and mix and mingle with their members. It was a really very interesting, experience. There are, and I'm sure that the people that showed up are just the tip of the iceberg. They represent a lot of their communities. But there's a huge movement in Chicago, in Cook County, rejecting the liberal social engineering that's going on. You know, that our state, the city of Chicago, has been run by Democrats for decades. Every possible authoritative figure is a Democrat. And the younger generation, and we're talking about 20, 30, 40-year-olds, they're finally coming around. They're wanting change. They see the effects of the bad policies and the bad government is having on them and their families and their communities. And I think there's a genuine sea change coming. Will it happen this fall? I'm not sure that we'll get a sweeping change this fall, but I predict that over the next 2-3 years, things will be vastly different on the political side of Cook County.
Right, exactly. Gentlemen, let's pull up our next to last slide. This kind of talks about a potential town hall in Will County, State Fair, and then a September 21st event. Anybody want to add anything to that as we close out here?
Well, we have an excellent presentation. It's informative. It's things you're not going to hear anywhere else, even from other people on our side of the aisle. And so we are looking forward to being in Will County in August. Hopefully we'll see you around the state fair, whether it be an Ag Day or a GOP Day. And then we'll bring the show closer to you, hopefully the rest of the summer.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
with that, let's bring up our last slide. Chairman Leader Miller, I'll let you kind of bring up the highlights here about how to find us and what's happening there. And with that, we'll just close out, gentlemen. Leader Miller, when you're done.
Well, it's pretty well self-explanatory here. Look at our website, write it down, click on the Illinois Freedom Caucus.org donate button. It does take money to get the message out. And, the old cliche is that dollars are the mother's milk of politics. And the more money that we have, the more that we can use it to get our messaging out. Some other things, I know that we have several events in the hopper that we don't have specific dates or groups, but there's been a lot of talk about bringing our town hall up to the Chicagoland area in various locations to spread the good news that the Republican Party is the party of better ideas for life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. So.
Yeah, and the message we're trying to spread is truth, logic, and common sense, and that's why we need each and every one of you to like, share, subscribe, and follow our content. It helps us to get that message out. And with that, gentlemen, I think we're going to close out for the sake of time. And with that, everyone, have a great evening, and we'll talk real soon.
Have a good night, everybody.